lot of you saw or heard the clip of Jon Stewart on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, where he pointed out the obvious, which is that if a virus originates next door to a laboratory that manipulates those types of viruses, it likely came from that lab. Something that most common sense folks like us have assumed was the case from the beginning. It was great to see someone on the left as revered as the former Daily Show host breaking rank. But Stewart said something else that I found really interesting and worth talking about. He said that science solved the problem of the pandemic, but that science also created the problem. Okay, let's take that a step further. Who paid for that science? The Chinese government for sure, but that science was also paid for in part by our government. And the solution? Well, we paid for that too. But not just with our tax dollars. We paid with lives lost. We paid with jobs lost. We paid with the loss of freedoms. We paid with the increase in mental health issues. And we paid with massive amounts of debt put on the backs of our children. You see, Mr. Stewart accidentally stumbled upon a point that he did not intend to make. And that's the fact that the government is often creating a lot of the problems with their solutions to solve other problems, and that we end up paying for in a multitude of ways. Just think about the pandemic. Our government created a lot of problems in the name of protecting the people. And right now, they're trying to fix some of those problems with massive legislative proposals that will surely bring about more problems. If you're out of work because the government deemed your job as being non-essential, why would you need them to propose spending trillions of dollars to help people like you get back to work? Wouldn't they just need to reverse what they did that caused you to lose your job in the first place? Instead, they want to make a bunch of new laws and spend a bunch of money that we don't have to fix the problems that they created. Governments always believe that they can come up with a solution to every issue we face. But those solutions come with new and often bigger problems. Let me give you some examples that most of you have come across. Red light cameras. How often do you see a car run a red light just after a yellow light? I drive a lot in a heavily congested area, so I see it happen multiple times a day. So government says, let's fix that problem with cameras that catch anyone who does it. But what was the result of their solution? More car crashes. Because people start to speed up to catch the yellow light and then realize that there is a camera and slam on their brakes, which causes a crash more often than did the people who just ran the red light. Another example is the hands-free phone law. Before the law was passed, if I needed to call someone while I was driving, I would hold my phone up high so that I could see the road and find their name at the same time. But when the law went into effect, people started doing it like this to keep their phone out of sight. Now, which way seems safer? You see, the law hasn't stopped very many people from using their phones while driving, they just made people do it in a less safe way. They made the problem worse. And there are literally examples for as far as the eye can see. Just think about the subprime mortgage disaster. Government created that, and then bailed out all of their rich friends. Or how about public education? For over 40 years now, the federal government, through the Department of Education, has spent billions of dollars to make education better. But it's not gotten better, has it? And if you compare public schools versus private, there is no comparison with outcomes. But I bet many of you didn't know this. On average, public school teachers get paid more than do their private school counterparts. So that age-old argument that public schools are struggling because teachers don't get paid enough just doesn't hold water. Or think about the homeless issue in America. In places where they do more to help the homeless, like Los Angeles, they have a bigger homeless problem. And has the war on poverty been successful? No, it hasn't. We have a lot more single mothers struggling financially now than when the war was started. And many more deadbeat fathers who can't be bothered with working full-time and taking care of their responsibilities. I mean, we spend enough money on welfare programs that if we just divided that money up among the needy, we could bring every poor American out of poverty. But if we did that, it would create a huge problem because even more people would be fine with sitting at home and collecting a check from the government. Look, no one disputes the law of unintended consequences, but hardly anyone in government is willing to talk about the unintended consequences they've created. Every single new piece of legislation is full of unintended consequences. And the bigger the legislation, the bigger problems they create. The answer to every issue can't always be that the government can fix it. In fact, they have a terrible track record of fixing things. It ends up costing us trillions of dollars, most of which we don't have, along with a myriad of other things like bad schools and broken families. Now, I'll let President Ronald Reagan take us out with something he said 35 years ago.
I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
And that's the simple truth. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and if you want to become a supporting member of Blue Collar Logic, click on the link in the description and give what you can.